Good evening. A mother from Hampshire has been jailed for 5 years in Iran. Nazanin Zaghari-Radcliffe from Fleet had gone to visit her parents with her 2-year-old daughter back in April, but she was arrested on suspicion of trying to topple the Iranian regime. Her husband has said it's a punishment without a crime.
He said the charges were ridiculous and that, 5 years, can you believe it, we're going to appeal. And there was a fight in her in that. She then said, I've been separated from Gabriella for nearly 6 months. That's a fifth of her life. Do they understand what it's like for a mother to be separated from a young child for that long? It's certainly gone on a lot longer than it occurred to me, and obviously getting a sentence of 5 years was a real shock. Because if I'm honest, I thought this would take weeks, maybe months, and I didn't think it would take 5 years.
Dorset police have released a photo of a man they think is travelling with a pregnant woman who's gone missing. Katie Miles hasn't been seen for 10 days and doctors say she needs medical attention. Police say she may have travelled to Spain with the father of her child, Robert Brown. They're thought to be in a black Range Rover. A man's admitted attacking a teenager with a hammer in Portsmouth. James Hemming, who's 29, pleaded guilty to attempted murder today. A 17-year-old girl has been left with life-changing injuries. The attack happened in Shearer Road in April. Now, Brighton's newest tourist attraction, the I360, broke down in mid-air last night, trapping 200 people inside for nearly 2 hours. It's the world's tallest moving observation tower, but last night it stopped moving 30 feet above the ground. Those in charge say it was a slight technical hitch. Those on board were not quite so dismissive. Andy Dickinson has the story.
So here we are, 1 hour, 40 minutes in, living the dream.
Almost 200 people left stranded in midair for more than 2 hours as Brighton's I360, the world's tallest moving observation tower, opened just last month, broke down. A slight technical hitch, operators say, causing their science fiction pod to halt 30 feet from the floor.
We'd literally just started, we never got anywhere near the top. Now we're sort of looking at the top, wondering how we would ever get up there, and in the end we were quite glad that we weren't at the top when it happened.
The attraction was carrying a private party, including 2 pregnant women, boarding at 5 p.m. for a 30-minute trip, ironically to celebrate the tower's opening. But they were stuck on board, gone 7, the fire service at one point arriving and then leaving, unable to help.
At one point we were, the slightly concerning message, we were all told there were too many people on the south side, so everyone had to move to the north side of the pod. Sadly, one of my guests, I didn't realise quite how scared of heights he was, and people kept telling him it was being fine, and the more people told him it was going to be fine, the more he panicked. The other concern was, and I think it's a good lesson for the I360 really, there was a real lack of information. Probably about 20 minutes before we were released, they opened up a secret hatch. Everyone got really excited because we thought we were going to sort of abseil down, or there's going to be one of those airplane style chutes that we could shoot down onto the ground on, but sadly no, it was a portable toilet, and I think the term portable toilet is probably over-egging it. It was a bucket with a seat.
No one from the I360 was available to speak to us today, though the attraction is now running. In a statement, they told us our highly qualified engineering team were able to bring the pod back down at 7:15 and all passengers disembarked. We would like to offer our heartfelt apologies to all the customers affected and thank them for their patience. How the fault actually occurred, however, remains unclear.
On to sport, and Premier League football is back this weekend and Bournemouth fans can look forward to watching their new star signing. Arsenal midfielder Jack Wilshere has joined on loan for 1 season, and boss Eddie Howe has praised the England star for choosing Bournemouth.
Games are going to be tough, and he's obviously going to be aware of that coming here. But I think he obviously made his decision around what he knew, and yeah, I think he deserves credit for his decision. I think it's a brave decision for his career, but hopefully a good one. And hopefully when he looks back in a year's time, he thinks that was a major turning point in his career for the better.
Now, the Paralympics is in full swing, and tomorrow former Royal Marines Commando Joe Townsend from Sussex will compete in the triathlon. Malcolm Shaw has his incredible story.
Everyone's just going to be silent now, aren't they?
Joe Townsend speaks to fellow athletes ahead of the Rio Paralympic Games 8 years after an improvised explosive device took both his legs while he was serving in Afghanistan.
being severely disabled, I knew that was going to limit my options going forwards, and I was just lost, just didn't know what I was going to do to be able to fulfil my life, and to be able to turn that round, prove that actually you can do anything you set your mind to. It's going to help my family and help them to cope with what happened to me, as well as being the kind of best rehabilitation for myself as well.
Joe's journey to Brazil has been a long and painful one. Our cameras first meeting him in 2008 at his home in Eastbourne, 8 months after the explosion. He's now endured more than 50 operations.
From sort of day one, where I was in a really low place, kind of not knowing what to do with myself, I'd been setting myself little goals to be able to pick myself up and move forwards, and essentially the goals got bigger and bigger, and finally set my sights on Rio and the Paralympic Games, and now I've got the opportunity to race there. The feeling of achievement's just absolutely amazing.
After carrying the Paralympic flame into London's Games, Joe's since come second in the World Ironman Championships and says he's in the form of his life.
Anything could happen. There's a lot of tough competition out there, a lot of guys that are going to want to get on that podium in front of me, but I think if I can race as I have been in training and deliver what I know I can deliver, then I've got a good chance of getting on that podium. It's going to be exciting.
Joe's latest mission for his country, swimming, hand cycling and wheelchair racing, takes place tomorrow shortly after 3 p.m. Malcolm Shaw, ITV News.
He's just incredible, isn't he? And we'll certainly let you know how he gets on tomorrow. Now, 2 years ago, Francis Benali ran from Newcastle United to Southampton Football Club, and now he's going even further. The former Saints defender will be running and cycling between every Premier League and Championship club over a 2-week period, all to raise money for Cancer Research UK.
The first challenge I did 2 years ago, it was going into the unknown. So there was an element of not knowing what pain and discomfort there was going to be and the challenges we faced. So I'm not relishing or looking forward to that one bit, to be honest, and the ice baths again, and trying to eat and keep the nutrition side up. But ultimately, if we can get back to St Mary's on the 16th of October, then that will be a successful challenge. So that's a day I'm looking forward to.
Very best of luck to him. And finally tonight, the Goodwood Revival is on. Everyone dresses up in vintage clothing, but the historic cars take centre stage. But as Andrew Pate reports, the revival isn't just confined to the track.
Revival is all the rage. Right across Goodwood, the Hickory Golf Society makes sure there's none of your modern-day putters here, instead providing brassies, spoons, mashies and niblicks. What do you miss about not having the modern-day kit?
Well, when you don't hit it out the middle of the club, your hands sort of, it feels, it stings your hands, and it's the technology really. But they're great fun. I mean, this is how golf was designed to be played. It's its purest format, and it's interesting to see how it's making a resurgence at the moment, actually.
But of course, as ever over the next couple of days, the car's the star. The festival celebrates the halcyon days of motor racing, alongside the glamour of the 1940s, 50s and 60s. So what does the Goodwood Revival mean to you?
This brings back a bit of British heritage, British culture. This is about motorsport and going back over our historic car building of the years. There's so much to see, so much to do. I've got a car which is 64 years old, same as myself. So this is very sentimental to come here.
And this weekend, the racing and the glamour will be as spectacular as ever.
Such an amazing event. Now, what does the weekend weather have in store? With all the details, here is Simon Parkin.
From Sleat to the slopes, driving through Europe. Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Good evening. Well, you'll be pleased to know it's going to be a pretty decent weekend by Sunday, but through tomorrow, well, it's all looking a bit damp. In fact, the rain will start to push in from the west through the early hours. Fairly mild night though, 17, 18 the overnight low, and enough of a breeze to stop it from being too muggy. But come tomorrow morning, it'll be a damp start to a damp day. That rain steadily working its way eastwards, a lot of it light and patchy, perhaps not heavier burst in there too. By the afternoon, turning drier from the west, but all the while the temperature's a bit disappointing, peaking at around 20 degrees. Much nicer on Sunday though, plenty of sunshine and a bit warmer too.
Eurotunnel the Shuttle sponsors ITV Meridian weather.
Well, that is all from us for tonight. We are back with our weekend bulletin just after 6:30 tomorrow evening. But from me and from all of us here tonight, have a great weekend. Good night.